up, YouTube? Topaz Jace back for another mixtape review, and this one is that Wildin' Out, Wildstyle Volume 1, man. And you know, this project right here is more of just an extension of the television show, and it honestly comes off as behind the scenes, but straight up audio. So this project has the whole crew of people that be on the television show, from Nick Cannon to DC Young Fly to E-Man, Hitman, and more. Got them collaborating with producers like Zaytoven, Polo the Don, and other notable MCs and such that's in the game, from Future, Migos, Too Short, and some more, man. And speak of that Too Short track, man, it raises some questions like, how is Lil Dicky not on this project? Because this is exactly what Lil Dicky does. And then as you listen to that Too Short track, man, you realize, okay, that bass line sounds a lot like that Save That Money track. But ultimately, it is what it is, man. As you break down these tracks, you gotta realize you're not going to really like any of these joints. It's more of just them talking trash to one another and talking about certain topics. It's not really focused on making the best music possible. I mean, starting with the first song, Who You Wanna Fuck, in which what they did was sat down and had this typical conversation that guys tend to have, like, who within the industry, whether it's music, entertainment, whatever, who would you like to have sex with and such, man? And they went through and devised who they wanted to do, and they've made verses about it, and they started cracking on each other as they usually do on a TV show, like how one guy was saying how he would try to get at Mariah Carey. And you know, Nick Cannon has always been a good sport about such things, especially on the TV show. And then it gets into somewhat of the behind the scenes stuff when they start talking about Gone Wild, where they're ultimately talking about the fame that came with them being on the television show. And even though I don't even watch Wildin' Out like that no more and such, man, and it's been out for some time, I can completely understand. You're on a nationally televised show and such, man, and people are still watching, so that does hold a certain amount of power, and women will be all over you because of that. In which that kind of leads them into the next discussion, which is Snapchat, which is them saying, okay, now that we got this fame, using it to get all of these DMs and all of that stuff, man, to get the nude photos and everything from these women. Then they start asking each other who was the baddest Wildin' Out chicks that they had on the show and such, man. And since Nick Cannon said Jessica, therefore they made a track dedicated to Jessica. I don't even know who this Jessica chick is, but from what they said, she has to be kind of bad. Really, the only song on here that felt like a true, legit song that they made to actually be a dope song would be the intro, which happened to be the outro of the mixtape. But as I said previously, man, that this comic type rap that a lot of people are doing, it definitely holds a lot of entertainment value to it, man, and I think it definitely can be a very huge thing. I mean, it's not a phenomenal project by any means, but it's worth a few listens to get some good chuckles out of it. Overall, I give this project, man, a 4 out of 10. But this concludes today's review, and now we're gonna jump into a brief instrumental from underground producers. Rap strong before we jump into the news, and then jump into an article from downloadpads.com. Atlanta, man, Young Jeezy and Lil Jon came together with some sponsors and such, man, and they pieced together 2,500 book bags plus supplies for kids coming back to school and such coming up. And that's just one of them things that you gotta love, man. One of the things that the media will never present to us, but it happens all the time, man. Good looks to those dudes. But anyway, on to today's article from downloadpads.com. And today's article is about Black Lives Matter as they came out with the demands, in which this is a huge step forward for this whole thing. But you got to understand, this isn't coming from the actual Black Lives Matter movement. This is like 60 affiliates within the Black Lives Matter decided to come together and compile the demands on what they want to be met. And that's great, because that's the whole thing that I had against the whole Black Lives Matter movement, is they was doing things just to do them. They didn't have any motivation. They wasn't actually organizing to do anything for real. And quite honestly, they were funded by people who were behind Clinton and such, man. So ultimately, there was a reason why they wasn't about anything, but yet the side effects of that had to come out, because it allowed a bunch of these organizations to come up and come together to organize together. Now they have a list of 6 demands and ways in which they can go about enacting it. Now, I'm not saying that I'm endorsing this yet. I have to go ahead and do more research and see exactly what's going on here to make sure that this isn't another white supremacist trap. I hope you enjoyed the show. You can follow me at Twitter up there, and you can go to downloadpads.com, that's down there, to read today's article.